Well, we're certainly off to an unproblematic start here in the 21st episode of the All-New Mighty Morphin Zyurangers. As I look at these two episodes, I'm reminded of a quote from one of my favorite websites when I was a kid, Dragon Ball Z Uncensored. Like me, its webmaster Chris Soros did episode comparisons. In his case, it was comparing the original Japanese Dragon Ball Z to its English-dubbed counterpart. In his comparison for Japanese episode 93, English episode 78, he opened with a line I've, for some reason, never forgotten. Have you ever been in one of those situations where you're in a huge room full of people and they're all staring at you expectantly, waiting for you to say something interesting, only you have nothing to say? That's kind of how I feel about doing a comparison for this episode. I find myself in a similar conundrum. I'm giving all of you what you said you wanted. At least over in the Zyuranger side, Stay Alive Burai is a fairly monumental episode, pushing the serialized storytelling forward. Bandora re-examines her strategies, opting out of the usual monster of the week who generically terrorizes, and instead specifically targets Burai so as to use up his remaining time alive. She succeeds, in fact, in whittling down a majority of it. It's completely unlike the episode I covered in my last video, which was a standalone, bog-standard Kid of the Week plot. That's a video nobody watched, despite the fact that it might be the best episode of Zyuranger I've ever seen, and my favorite installment of this series I've ever made. But no, that's not what you want. You want the big, important storylines. So here we are, with an episode that is big and important and very, very boring. What are you guys even doing to me? Over on the Power Rangers side, Wheel of Misfortune is also very, very boring, and it's not even propped up by being at all meaningful. Perhaps most damning of all for this video series, that means that these episodes have almost nothing in common and very little to compare. I hope at least my snark will be interesting enough to carry me through the next several minutes. I have to give this episode credit for creativity. This evil spinning wheel thing is a monster that does not fit the typical mold of humanoid. It's not a performer in a costume. It's a prop on a string. I'm not sure how confident in it the powers that be were, though, given they throw in Grifazar and Lamy for good measure. Stay Alive Burai has a spinning wheel because it uses its Kid of the Week in a Sleeping Beauty plot, Rie pricking her finger on a disguised Lamy spinning wheel and falling into an enchanted sleep until Burai, chastely and innocently, kisses her on the cheek. There's nothing wrong with that. It's fine. It also seems like it'd be pretty easy to adapt. American kids know Sleeping Beauty. Actually, I think they do a similar plot with Tommy and a little girl in season 2. But it seems like a no-brainer that this could be an episode about Kimberly pricking her finger on a spinning wheel, with Tommy having to rescue her and kiss her in a decidedly more romantic fashion, thereby maintaining the themes of the original while pushing forward its own storyline. They apparently already jettisoned a Kimberly Falls Asleep episode, so it's not like it would be retreading old ground. No, instead they changed the story to Rumpelstiltskin, which has no connection to anything other than justifying the spinning wheel. The kids are in a production of Rumpelstiltskin. Jason, Kimberly, Bulk, and Skull are performing, Mr. Kaplan is the director, Billy is the stage manager, and Zach, Tommy, and Trini are also present. Kimberly has contributed her grandmother's antique spinning wheel to the production, which Bulk immediately breaks, leading to acting!
You ruined my grandmother's spinning wheel!
Everyone's really bummed out about this, except for Tommy, who I guess wasn't paying attention.
What's wrong, Kim?
What's wrong, Kim? You were in the room when it happened! Tommy remembers how well it worked out for him when he fixed Kimberly's parade float, and so offers to fix the spinning wheel. Unfortunately, Rita has stolen it to turn it into her latest monster. Because of that, the fix-it solution becomes awkwardly asking extras if they've seen the spinning wheel. After he harasses Bulk and Skull, I guess Tommy decides this is no longer his problem, and just leaves, so that putties can kidnap him.
Why did I put my communicator in the bag?
Why do I awkwardly exposit out loud while I'm being tied up? To show how much Zordon cares about Tommy, he rejects the Rangers' request to go save him because they have more pressing matters. Goldar and Scorpina are on the rampage! And by rampage, he means they are in a quarry. Yeah, can't spare a second to save Tommy. If they lay claim to that quarry, it'll be even worse than when they occupied the children's theater in the park. Obviously, this is done as their get Tommy out of the way excuse, which is kind of funny. This is an episode of Zyuranger where Burai is present the entire time, but he's separated from the rest of the group, so we still need this. You know, Rita taking the spinning wheel and turning it into a monster seems a lot more like Lord Zed's methodology for evil schemes in Season 2. You know what Season 2 reminds me of? That ridiculous baby carriage chase. That carriage just rolls all over the place, all on its own, and never seems to stop. I'm wondering if Power Rangers got the inspiration from this episode, where Burai chases a baby carriage all through town. Why does this episode have more in common with Season 2 than with the episode that's actually adapting it? Anyway, Burai has gotten bored in the Timeless Room and decides to chat up the local youths, two sisters, only for Bandora to decide to pull this crazy junior NASCAR prank. And it's a prank on top of a prank where the baby is actually fake. Miko-chan is already kidnapped. And it's a prank on top of a prank on top of a prank because while Burai is busy doing that, Lami kidnaps a surprisingly unconcerned Rie through the whole Sleeping Beauty conceit. The other Zyurangers insist Burai leave this problem to them so he doesn't waste any more of his time. However, Burai feels this is all his fault. I don't know how, but he thinks that. Believe me, there's a later episode where a child is in mortal peril and it's totally his fault, but that's not this episode. So Burai saves Rie, but they're dropped into a pit where the spinning wheel chases them around for hours. The best part is when Rie's in danger of falling off a cliff into a pit of fire and Burai is trying to save her, but the spinning wheel keeps banging into the back of his head. It's less of a danger than it is an annoying inconvenience. Stop it, hey stop! I'm trying to do something here, cut it out! And that's kind of the problem with adapting this monster. Most of its appearances in this episode are in footage Power Rangers can't use, so it's really only around for a few minutes. The other Zyurangers are in trouble though, because Gryffazar has defeated the Tyrannosaurus. With a net. You know, Power Rangers might have missed the whole Sleeping Beauty thread, but they are on top of their game when it comes to furthering the theme of our laser-wielding, robot-piloting superheroes being thwarted by a simple fibrous weaving of cord. Burai eventually uses his medallion as a flare because it can do that, alerting the others to his predicament. May knows the perfect solution. And so they both died. No, but it really seems like they should have. With May saving Burai and Tommy sorting out his own problems because nobody cares about him, the heroes are free to combine their powers into their ultimate configuration. It's a simple matter in Power Rangers, but oh no! Bandora is holding the baby as a hostage. Geki knows the perfect solution. And so the baby died. No, but it really seems like she should have. The day is saved, but it's bittersweet. After that little adventure, Burai only has 5 hours left to live. And on the American side, Kimberly has to tell her grandmother that she blew her antique spinning wheel to smithereens. Oh wait, what am I talking about? This is Power Rangers, where there isn't any sacrifice or consequences. The spinning wheel has been returned. Somehow. Not only that, but it's functioning the way it was before Bulk broke it, so not only did Rita not cause any harm, she actually made things better. Thanks, Rita! Alright, let's finish this up, although I'm really going to have to stretch to presume either of these is somehow better than the other. First story, whew. After the fuss I made at the beginning, I hate to do this. But I guess since they're both not very good, but Zyuranger at least furthers an ongoing storyline, I'm giving it to Stay Alive Burai. For characters, not much happening here. The kid of the week is a bore. But any kid would be after the glory that is Saori. The Power Rangers are going through the motions. I do like this one moment though. Kimberly is brooding when all of a sudden Jason, Zach, Billy, and Trini join her, teasing her by doing the exact same thing. It doesn't require any dialogue, it's just a moment between friends that's exactly what Kimberly needs to shake her out of her frustration and laugh at herself. In this one moment, I believe their relationship, and so I'm giving it to Power Rangers. For action, it's weird. Zyuranger seems to believe that explosions solve everything. From saving people in a cave, to saving a baby, to even this. Lamy and Grifazar hit the Zyurangers with a blast. And so the Zyurangers died. No, but it really seems like they should have. The explosion instead causes them to transform in a very jarring jump cut. Yes, the medallions are beacons and the Zyurangers can transform without them. The laws of the universe are null and void. So while Power Rangers has to remove a lot of the action, it also removes a lot of the things that don't make sense. Except that this episode is the first appearance of the Ultrazord, which is... yeah. Tommy, though, gets a good fight and frees himself because of his brain, not because of explosions. I'm giving it to Wheel of Misfortune, so I'm happy to say we get that rare Power Rangers win. Too bad it's still not a good episode. Okay, let's try again and see if we have any better luck with Dark Warrior versus Ninja Warrior Boy. And I do declare we do. But before we get to that, a little bit of context. Now that Burai burned through 60% of his remaining time in a single episode, he's feeling pretty embarrassed about himself and sits this one out. That means this is another episode of MMPR that is adapted before Tommy joins up. In fact, it's the last of the batch of episodes we initially skipped over. It's back one more time to early Power Rangers. How fun! Fun is definitely on the menu. Boy sees a help wanted ad for the Tomoda Ninja School. I guess Barza's moratorium on part-time jobs is still lifted. This episode wastes no time getting straight to the point. Theme song, Boy sees ad, goes to Ninja School. Who needs any more setup than that? He makes friends with Chisato, a ninja girl and daughter of the ninja scientist working on the Elixir of Life. But Bandora sends out her newest monster, Dora Ninja, naturally, to retrieve it for her. Well, first she sends Dora Ninja to spy, but Boy catches him. Then she sends her minions, but they betray her and drink it themselves, except that it was a trap of various unpleasant things set by Boy and Chisato. Then she sends Dora Ninja to retrieve it for her. Like the 7 Metamorphoses of Princess May, this is an episode that grabs its premise and doesn't let go of it, and that's what makes it enjoyable. It indulges as many ninja tropes as it can get away with, from shadow clones to smoke balls to reed breathing to tree scurrying. All these ninja powers seem cool. Sentai should really make a whole show about this. For me, this is like a live-action version of Murasaki from Dragon Ball. If you saw 5 different Tiger Rangers running around and thought, wow, that looks like way too much fun for Power Rangers, I bet they cut almost all of this out, I say to you, thank you. Because that means you've probably been watching these videos long enough to know what's up. Yeah, Power Rangers is way too serious and grounded in reality for anything as fanciful as ninja stealth. Instead, Trini's Uncle Howard, a karate scientist, visits with his new invisibility elixir, which he promptly loses for most of the episode, but let me be clear, it legitimately does what it advertises. The best thing about comparing these two directions is that Zyuranger reveals that Bandora had the wrong idea. The Elixir of Life isn't some magical immortality potion, it's an attempt at a homeopathic remedy to promote heart health, increase energy, and protect against cancer. Power Rangers looks at this, decides all the ninja stuff is too fanciful, but then goes, alright, let's have the old dude drink out of a mason jar and turn invisible. Science! You would think this would be a Trini episode, given that the Japanese show is about her counterpart, and the special guest is her blood relative, but no. It's never a Trini episode, is it? Unfortunately, this is a case of past interference. Billy sees karate scientist and says, hey, I'm a karate scientist, let's bond, Uncle Howard! Yeah, come to think of it, that season 2 episode I was talking about, the one where a little girl is crushing on Tommy and he has to save her, that was Trini's neighbor. So it seems like Trini exists to introduce storylines to other characters, not to have stories of her own. She's neither the grower nor the customer. She's the dealer. That's a weird analogy for me to make. The plot here is that Billy is tired of being bullied and decides to return to Jason's karate class and ultimately seek out Uncle Howard's tutelage. Rita kidnaps Uncle Howard in order to get his invisibility formula so she can use it on the Power Rangers to make them disappear forever. Yeah, it turns out that Rita is very, very stupid. That's not what invisibility does. We can even see the potion at work in this episode. It doesn't banish people to another dimension or render them intangible. It just makes it so you can't see them. Because that's what invisible means. Not visible. As Uncle Howard demonstrates at the end of the episode, foes you can't see are harder to fight, not easier. So just like our last episode, Rita is actually trying to make things better for the Rangers instead of worse. All that aside, you can kind of see how Ninja Warrior Boy was put through a beige filter and came out the other side as this. Billy takes the place of Boy, even though it should have been Trini. Chisato and her father are combined into Uncle Howard for martial arts and mad science. Both have a potent potable the villain is after. Both even have their own scenes of the three villains drinking the wrong thing. It's pretty rare this season to see original footage of Babu since he doesn't wear a mask. The American actor doesn't have the movement down, but the camera is far enough out that you can't really discern his face. It's a solid enough episode of Power Rangers, but it doesn't have nearly as much style. It certainly didn't have to go into blatant ninja tropes to pull off its story. The problem is, we don't see Billy do much of anything. We barely see any of his karate class. When Uncle Howard trains him, all we see him do is teach Billy how to push away an invisible box. And Billy's culminating moment that all this martial arts training has been leading up to is when Billy disarms a bomb. Yeah, you're kinda losing me here, episode. Okay, I guess his real culminating moment is getting his yellow belt and finally standing up to Bulk and Skull? Wait, no, he doesn't do that. Uncle Howard does it for him. Yeesh. Apparently we have seen more of Billy's training from this episode because it was cut out of this one and placed into the first episode. Over in Day of the Dumpster, you can see a communicator on Billy's wrist even though this is before he's a Power Ranger. In order to maintain continuity, Billy declares he's going to re-enroll in Jason's karate class.
I'm gonna re-enroll in Jason's karate class.
But he says it off camera, so I'm almost certain this was looped after they decided to cut out that footage. You can argue Day of the Dumpster needed these scenes as establishment, but only seeing Billy train for a total of 10 seconds really diminishes the impact of this one. You could at least give him a montage.
Remember what you have learned, Billy!
Yes, his brief mime training will prove to be extraordinarily valuable on the road ahead. Zyuranger does something relatively unique here, and not just the Zyurangers changing their outfits. When the fight escalates into Guardian Beast territory, King Brachion decides to just show up and fire a couple of mouth blasts. Hey, way to mix it up. It's rare for him to show up when he's not summoned, or to do anything but form Ultimate Daijujin. Unfortunately, since this episode predates Titanus, Power Rangers has to cut this out. Well, I say that, but then again, Wheel of Misfortune used Ultrazord before it was introduced. But between this and Billy's looped line, apparently this is an episode that cares a lot about the sanctity of continuity. That's a nice change of pace. Alright, it's time to score them. For story, fun ninja tropes against the thinnest of all Karate Kid ripoffs, it's gotta be Zyuranger. For characters, Power Rangers doesn't know what to do with Billy. To continue my Karate Kid analogy, this would be as if Daniel gets to the tournament only to find out he has to solder a circuit board. Chisato is not quite up to Saori levels of awesome, but she is pretty darn cool. She even gets to beat up on Grifazar for a bit. At the end, she decides she wants to marry Boy, which is cute on its own. I do start to question it though when we have 2 episodes in a row that put a Zyuranger into a romantically coded relationship with the kid of the week. It never stops being innocent. Let's just take a break from it though, please. Either way, Zyuranger wins. For action, come on. Power Ranger seems intent on not showing its action, but even if it did, ninjas! Zyuranger wins, clean sweep. After a bit of a misfire, I'm glad to see Zyuranger still knows how to get it done. And Power Rangers managed to win one as well. Weird that both Power Rangers episodes today switched out the focal character. I hope I've managed to bring a little joy to your lives today. But if you want more joy, I cannot stress enough that the Saori episode is where it's at. We stan Saori in this house, so definitely go back and check that one out if you missed it. I have that whole convenient playlist going on. I also like paying my bills, so any way you could help out the channel would be appreciated. Also, I promise the Donkey Kong dissection is starting to get pretty close. Sorry it's taken so long. Yeah, I'm proud of what I just did. Yeah.